he's very famous. So Professor Dr. Eko Prasojo is right now the Dean of Faculty of Administrative Science, Universitas Indonesia. He was the Vice Minister of Administrative and Bureaucratic Reform. And then right now he is also the President of Asian Group for Public Administration, AGPA. And then actually he received a lot of award. For example, the very prestigious award, the Brabant Lecture Award in 2019, and then MIPI Award and Habibie Award in 2019. So we learned a lot from Professor Eko Prasojo. So please, Prof. Eko, time is yours, Prof. Eko.
Thank you very much, Mas Oscar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me to be speaker in the second plenary session of virtual conference of Indonesian Association for Public Administration. It is my honor to be here virtually, meet you all, and especially Professor Nek Rosna. How are you, Bu? Long time no see. And also Professor Horst Hecker. Today, I would like to share with you the challenges and also changes of public governance in the new normal era. This is a part of conference theme, strengthening governance capacity and public administration amidst pandemic and new normal. So public administration, public governance is facing now the new challenges, and we have to change some of our paradigm, structure, culture, and also maybe interactions between the state and also the governments. The state and the society, as well as amongst the government itself. Ladies and gentlemen, it is actually there are the driving force, three driving force for future society. First is massive and comprehensive globalization. Will create so-called global governance. Second is the convergence of advanced technology will create digital governance. And the third is the development and also the creations of knowledge. And it will result to knowledge-based governance. This driving force will also influence the development of future society, as well as the development of governance and also the public administrations. So what happened now, there is global trends and also shifting the lifestyle, also the interactions amongst the society and also the society to the state. So there are dozens of trends and shifts that are happening now. At least 4 of these things are the most salient, important and significant in determining the future of public and private sector organizations. First is the disruption in every sector, like what happened currently, COVID-19 and economic crisis. Second is the development of ICT, artificial intelligence, big data, and also Internet of Things. The third is the development of millennial workforce. So I think Indonesia has more than 63% of millennial generation now. And the fourth is mobility and also flexibility. So I will focus my presentation on these global trends and also shifting of the phenomenon. First is the crisis or the disaster of COVID-19. So what we can see from the COVID-19 pandemic is just the latest in growing list of disruptors confronting the capacity of governments, the readiness of culture of society, and so on. So And the COVID-19 pandemic and the associated socio-economic crisis, what happened right now is posing huge challenges. So rising many unknowns and also imposing wrenching trade-offs. So we understand that these both crises, economic and also pandemic, are globally happen, but also they have impact deeply on local, on the society and on the local government and so on. So if we are talking about the ICT, so the artificial intelligence algorithms will handle the human task. So this artificial intelligence will replace the functions of human. So in handling with the society, in delivering public services, and so on. This is so-called robotic agents. So some country has also established the robotic agents to deliver public services to the governments. And it's happened also in the private sector. In many private sector, they have already established robotic agents. So second, big data democratization will empower employees to provide relevant, useful, and also valuable data for strategic decisions. Yeah. So with big data, we can easier create option in the policy making process, in the decision making process. The Internet of Things can be used for so many applications in public services context, and of course, is often part of broader project like a smart city that we maybe understand, also see in the some regional government in Indonesia. So ambient technology will conform to human behavior. So reduce stress, create efficiencies, and also free people to focus on work. Technology and human beings will become collaborators. Smarter strategic decision making. So now I'm going to talk about the millennial workforce. The millennial generations born between 1980s and 2000s, Y generations, is now entering employment in vast numbers, and they will shape the world of work for years to come. So by 2020, millennial generation will form 50% of the global workforce. So in Indonesia, more than 63, I think, already. So millennials tend to be uncomfortable with rigid corporate structures and also turned off by information silos. They expect rapid progressions, varied and interesting career, and constant feedback. So we can see that in the global phenomenon, 81% of professional rank start and end times as the most desirable flexible work arrangements. So 40% of job seekers would turn down a role if it did not meet their flexible working arrangement needs. And 52% of employers agree that flexible working arrangements increase employee commitment to the job. And it happened in the public sector. So based on the Robert Walters study, 2019, 66% these global phenomenons, flexible working arrangements, happen in the public sector. So if you can see another information from Harvard Business Review from February 2019, flexibility is the key in the new public governance. So workplace motivation shift from money to flexibility. So flexible schedule and also work locations and access to training are predicted to become more important than salary and benefits. So based on this study, 88% flexible work, they want flexible work and also schedule works and also locations. So 48% want access to training or development opportunities. 38% salary and benefits, 35% they want entrepreneurship opportunities, and 30% more flexible work contracts for full-time employees. So what happened, this information to the future for public administrations? So I think we are entering in the governance 4.0. So pandemic COVID-19 shows that digital governance is solution and must for future public administrations. So digital governance is leveraged in the public administration development in the future. So what we mean with the governance 4.0 is the flexible working arrangements, so flexible workspace. So means that co-working space, teleworking, and so on. So flexible working schedule, flexi time. Yeah. So the millennial working with or in super application, so single digital government platform, yeah, smart digital office, and so on. But also they need to build the capacity in order to handle with digital competence and also creating corporate university, but also business process, re-engineering, yeah, restructuring, yeah, to become more and flatter structure and processing. But also we need talent management in order to create open career system and also establish the national talent management system. Yeah. So the next development of public administration will be characterized by a paradigm with the dynamics, network, and also collaborative. So in the institution and process characterized by digital organization and also flexible arrangement, as I mentioned before, but also combinations of personnel between millennials and also baby boomers and also X generations. But also we should focus on the competencies that follow strategy and also core challenges that we are facing now. I think this is the changes in organizational paradigm. Actually, this is written by OECD for a long time ago, but I think this is still relevant to characterize what happened in the society and also in the public administrations. So we move from stability to continuously change, from size and scale to speed and responsiveness, from rigidity to flexibility, from process-driven to result-driven, vertical integration into the virtual integrations, from consensus into constructive contention, and from hierarchy to leadership from within. So what happened in the global trends in public sector actually currently? Yeah? The standard 9 to 5 supervised office job is getting slowly replaced by non-standard, alternative, and also flexible work arrangements. In general, we can say that flexible working arrangement can be found frequently in the public sector in several countries around the world. For example, in US, in UK, in Germany, Australia, and also in New Zealand, and also in other several countries. So right for teleworking and for flexible working hours are a part of central or federal policies in over 15 countries right now. So what drives public sector organization to implement flexible working? So the implementation of flexible working arrangement in the public sector is often driven by pro-social and environmental motives. So however, potential organizational benefits follow just behind. A survey of cities human resource professionals in the US identified as the 4 most common motives to introduce alternative time schedule. So to improve employee morale, to support employees' work-life balance, to increase productivity, and also to extend business hours. So the utilization of ICT in the public sector organization will shape new culture in the public sector. So, and the proportion of young people or millennial, as I mentioned, as civil servant now requires public sector organization to create a new working style in the government as a set engagement policy. So I think I would like to continue in the agility era. So we are coming in the EGTL, a new era, so-called agility era. So the nature and scale of the global trends and shift are forcing the public sector organization to be agile. That means moving toward to a flatter structure, striving more equality and opportunity, and also sharing strong vision and purpose. Agility is needed to help the public sector effect a major transformation to seize opportunities and to achieve its objective. But agility is not end, and it is a prerequisite for being truly strategic. So we need agile team. Agile team means that team in agile organization are structured differently compared to traditional hierarchical organization. They are cross-functional, share a strong purpose, commit to each other to deliver, and also can deliver end-to-end course values. Cross-functional team members retain their autonomy in their respective area of focus and set their own work pace and supervise their own activities. However, they are expected to collaborate and leverage from each other's skills to achieve desirable outcomes. So, but we have to prevent also a flatter organization become toxic. Yeah, there is a risk for generalization and confusion of the public sector organization fails to hone and specifically direct their talents. Flat organization require greater coordination and group decision making. The paradox is that the dismantling of hierarchical structure but fostering the leadership. Okay, I will end to my presentation. I think now we are coming into the structure of organization that become flatter and holocratic. So the next feature of PA is characterized by structure organization that flatter and also holocratic. This is the skill of future leaders that we need for future of public administrations. So leaders that can inspire and motivate others, display high integrity and honesty, solve problem and analyze issues, drive for result, and so on. In conclusion, I can say that we have to change the way we see the governments or public sector organization. Governments are not single monolithic structure, but rather network of large organizations. To be perceived as completely agile might be unrealistic for public sector organization, given the internal and external factors that come into play. But by adopting some agile traits, public organization could view changes as opportunities, as, not as pitfalls. Thank you very much. I hope that what I can explain can be also shared to you all, the participants, also the speakers. Thank you. I will give the time to moderator, please. Mas Oscar, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Eko. Very, very insightful. Yeah, I think the presentation from Professor Eko. And then Professor Eko discussed regarding the role of ICT, artificial intelligence, IoT, big data, and then the correlation with the millennial workforce that tend to have a flexible working arrangement, about the future of governance 4.0, the paradigm in public sector, and then the conclusion is from Prof. Eko, we have to change the way we see the government. It's a very, very insightful and nice presentation, Professor Eko. And then please, everyone, if you have any questions, please, as mentioned by the secretariat, that you can put it in the chat. But Professor Eko said to me that actually he has another activity, Prof. Eko. Can you still stay with us, Prof. Eko, or? This,
yes, please.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor Eko, for still staying with us. Okay, Professor Holzeker already here. Hello, Professor Holzeker.
Morning, thank you.
Okay, morning. Is it still morning there, Professor Holzeker?
It is. It's early morning, just approaching 8 in the morning. The sun just coming up.
Okay. Okay, Professor Hasik, because we are here already afternoon. We have here about 2 o'clock because we have a time difference. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the second speaker will be Professor Dr. Ronald Hozeker. Professor Hozeker is Professor of Comparative Multi-Level Governance and Regional Structure in the Faculty of Spatial Science, Department of Spatial Planning and Environment, and the Faculty of Arts, Department of International Relations and International Organization, as you know, University of Groningen. And then he is also Director of Groningen Research Center for Southeast Asia and ASEAN. Professor Hozeker also visiting professor in University of Melbourne and visiting scholar at Columbia University. And he got his PhD in political science in the University of Michigan with honors. So we cannot wait for Professor Hozeker for sharing with us. Time and place is yours, Professor Hozeker.
Yes, thank you very much for that kind introduction, and also good afternoon to Dean Eko. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be asked to speak to the Indonesian Public Administration Annual Conference. I wish that I could be in Yogyakarta in person. I have been a frequent visitor to Indonesia and Gadjah Mada University, but we are all in our homes instead of in our offices. Let me put up my slideshow here.
Will you share it, Professor? Okay, very nice.
Okay, thank you. So maybe we can go on to the next slide. So, you know, I'm the director of our SEASEAN Center. We so far have had 22 PhD candidates from Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, so across the ASEAN countries. And one of our Gadjah Mada PhD students, Isti Hidiati, she will be graduating in December now with her PhD defense. Okay, next slide. So I wanted to put a title on my talk, The Quest for Multilateralism and ASEAN Engagement for Sustainable Development. So we're talking today in your conference about governance and public administration. And I wanted to emphasize sort of multi-level governance perspectives and also the role of such regional bodies as ASEAN. Okay, next slide, please. You know, I have lived and worked here in the Netherlands for more than 20 years, but I am an American and I followed the US election very closely. I had worked right out of university in 1984 for Vice President Walter Mondale when he was the Democratic candidate against President Ronald Reagan. So I just wanted to talk briefly, put a slide up here about how I think that the US Biden administration will change some of the relations, and it influences governance and government in Southeast Asia and Indonesia. I think the new watchwords for the new administration and President Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris will take office January 20th. So the new hallmarks, what we should expect is greater consistency in policymaking, diplomacy, much more focus on multilateralism instead of the rhetoric of America first, and a return to these very important international agreements on climate, the Paris Climate Accords, and the expectation that the US will also be rejoining the World Health Organization. And of course, in time of COVID-19, that is especially important. So once again, we expect more coherence, fewer contradictions in US policy. And I think the US has been rather absent from Southeast Asia the last 4 years, and we should expect a greater engagement back in the region. The new administration will be filling diplomatic posts. If one looks back to earlier strategic documents like the Free and Indo-Pacific Strategy, those goals in the strategy are more likely to be achieved when the key diplomatic posts in the region are filled. We expect a diminished rhetoric for authoritarian methods, for example, those used by Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte in the war on drugs, more support for countries like Indonesia, democratic countries in the region. Those close to Biden have also said, talked about multilateral action in the region. And one of his advisors, Anthony Blinken, has promised that President Biden will be showing up and engaging with ASEAN on critical issues. Okay, next slide. I think there will be some continuity in US policy toward China, especially in terms of economic competition. And once again, President-elect Biden has announced that on the first day of office, he will issue an executive order to rejoin the Paris Climate Accords and also the World Health Organization. Okay, next slide, please. You know, I wanted just to put up a few slides here that emphasize a region that's full of very rapid urban growth, which has challenges for the environment and climate change, of course, especially Jakarta in terms of flooding issues is very important. And we see across the country also changes in spatial use and the relation between urban areas and the surrounding rural and forest issues. So if we could just go on to the next slide, then so the increase in large cities across Southeast Asia. Next slide. And flood risk, not only Jakarta, but also Bangkok and other big cities across the region. And next slide. But of course, the relation between the rural areas and urban areas are taking on a greater role. And that makes multi-level governance, and especially, for example, the role of the provinces in Indonesia becoming more important, I think. Okay, next slide. So when you think about some issues where you might be doing future research as professors or as PhD students or masters, you know, think about your city, your province, what kind of challenges are faced by your city. And then you might begin to think about what multi-governance perspectives, what should the city be doing? Let's say of Yogyakarta, what should the province be doing? But also, what is the role of ASEAN? How could ASEAN help us learn best practices in confronting these issues of COVID-19 and climate change? I think the Sustainable Development Goals, because they combine a perspective on various social goals and economic goals, as well as environment and climate, is a good way to sort of organize our research and ties in then with the Global 2030 agenda. And I think ASEAN is an under-researched organization and one that could be playing even a larger role in addressing changes across the region. Okay, next slide. So here we see the SDGs, and the sort of first row of various social goals like no poverty, zero hunger, quality education. Some of the economic ones in that second row, and then the final row really focusing on climate and environmental goals. Okay, next slide, please. I have found it quite interesting to look at the Indonesia's voluntary national review that's then presented at the United Nations, where Indonesia lays out what its targets are under the 17 goals, and also the indicators that will be used to measure success on the global goals 2030. And next slide. This is also from this report, and you see how Indonesia is trying to integrate its other strategic planning on the economy and to fit it in also to the sustainable development goals. Also at the provincial level, then you see here, for example, a focus on the sustainable development goals. Okay, next slide. So here I'm going to be mainly focusing in on ASEAN now, and I wanted to first mention then the sort of dialogue between ASEAN and the EU on sustainable development. And on the next slide, we'll see the joint statement that was issued earlier this year. Next slide, please. So you see this focus also on some joint funding. So both the EU supporting ASEAN institutions, but also sort of country to country aid that is focused on the sustainable development goals. And next slide, please. You know, when Dean Pak Iko was speaking earlier, he put a lot of emphasis on the millennial generation and personnel. And you see here also the importance of the development of human capital in narrowing development gaps. One of the issues I'm quite interested in is the idea of corridor development. You know, traditionally, these have been seen in Indonesia and other countries as mainly economic corridors or transport corridors. But we have a project now with Gadjah Mada where we're also looking at, you can see how along a corridor, you could also spread educational assets. So of course, for elementary school, grammar school, children need to be very close to their school, but then you also need access to higher education that might be in the nearby cities. You also see in this statement between the EU and ASEAN, the promoting gender equality and promoting women entrepreneurship, especially in small and medium-sized enterprises. Okay, thank you. Next slide. Okay, so what I wanted next to do is introduce some existing research that we published last year. I was the editor of this book with Dhafri Agusalam from Gadjah Mada University, and it draws on work by professors from across the region. So we have authors from each of the 10 ASEAN countries. So I wanted to briefly introduce to you some of the existing research being done in ASEAN. In our introduction, we begin with looking at a report from the ESCAP office, the UN Office for the Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific. And they began this report by looking at what were the successes out of the Millennium Development Goals, the year 2000, and how the future, what should be worked on with the SDGs. One of the things I find interesting is if you look at the top paragraph, the successes, for example, cutting extreme poverty or improving school enrollment. Then if you look down at the bottom paragraph, you see how the goals have become, you know, more difficult, more complicated. So it's not just reducing poverty, but it's also addressing inequality. If you look at the schooling, it's not only about improving school enrollment and, for example, making sure that both boys and girls are going to school and graduating, but now the focus is on quality education. Also in the environment, you see a move from protecting particular areas with high biodiversity to now broader questions of environmental sustainability and climate change. So the United Nations identifies, you know, major weakness, the challenge for the region in trying to address these more complicated goals are capacity weaknesses and especially implementation challenges. Okay, next slide. You know, one of the challenges for ASEAN and for Southeast Asia as a region to be addressing sustainable development and climate is the great differences between the countries. So for example, if we look at the United Nations Human Development Index, Singapore is number 5 out of all the countries in the UN. Then there is a large group of countries that, you know, could be seen as sort of medium on the Human Development Index. That's where Indonesia, for example, is. And then there is a group of countries that are quite low on the HDI, including Laos, Cambodia, and Myanmar. So that's, you know, when ASEAN is going to develop programs and engagement, it has to really look both at these medium countries and also the lower countries on the HDI. Okay, next slide, please. You know, I want you here just to focus on the sort of red line of Indonesia. And here you see from a public administration standpoint how when we were focused on the Millennium Development Goals, it was Bappenas that was responsible for working on those goals. In the period when there was more focus just on the environment, it was your Ministry of the Environment. Now what you see is coordinating teams working with Bappenas. So it's multiple ministries are responsible for achieving the SDGs in Indonesia. And we know that, you know, ministries are set up as sort of vertical institutions with a, you know, political head and then civil servants. It's quite challenging when ministries have to work horizontally across ministries. So that's one of the implementation challenges that countries face. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so here we see how the governance structure for SDGs in all of the countries have moved toward interministerial coordination for implementation. Next slide, please. One of the things we call for in the book is increased stakeholder participation in these processes and consultation with stakeholders at the national and local levels. You know, when Professor Bobi Situan and I are looking at corridor development in Indonesia now for our next research, we're very interested in having the provincial level and the city level planning agencies working closely with citizens, businesses, civil society to so that the whole society is working together on sustainable development. You know, we've really seen that in the COVID-19 crisis, that our governments have said we need to have solidarity with our neighbors, with the society to confront this epidemic. And that kind of engagement by citizens is also really necessary in these broader ideas of sustainable development. Okay, next slide, please. So these are the three main conclusions from our book on sustainable development. This shift from the international discussions of what the global goal should be toward national implementation. So for example, take a look at the voluntary national review that Indonesia has produced. We focus in the book in various policy areas, for example, housing and transport, the multi-level challenges of implementation in this area. So I think it's important to move our research agendas, not to just the policies, but implementation. And finally, we focus on involvement by stakeholders and civil society. Okay, so I just wanted to show you a final picture, the Sustainable Development Goals. And the next picture is our aula here in Groningen with all the bicycles. I'm hoping it will be as clear sky today as that. And that's where our PhD candidates, so your lecturer, Isti Hidiati, she will be defending her dissertation in this building coming up. And the final picture then is a sort of evening picture with the canals of Groningen. Okay, thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you so much, Professor Zakir, for the presentation. It's a very, very critical, detailed, and great presentation, Professor Ron. And you mentioned regarding the very hot topic regarding the US Biden administration. I think it's really, really critical for us in Southeast Asian regarding the challenge of multi-governance perspectives and how to integrate the SDGs. And lastly, you mentioned about the challenge of governance of SDGs for effective planning and implementation. It's really, really insightful. Thank you so much, Professor Ron. I'm so sorry for late introduction, Professor Ron. I'm Oscar. I'm, of course, part of IAPA under President Agus Pramosinto leadership. Since this is our first meeting, I'm so sorry for late introduction. Also for Professor Nick. So, last but not least, we will have Professor, as you see here, Professor Dr. Ni Rosmah binti Wan Abdullah. So Professor Ni right now is the acting dean of Tun Abdul Razak School of Government. So Professor Ni got his master in public administration with distinction from University of Liverpool, and also Doctor of Philosophy from the Institute of Development Studies from University of Sussex, and the area of specialization. Her area of specialization are public policy, governance, public sector management, regulatory reform, health sector reform. Dini Rosna, are you okay? Thank you so much. Time is yours, Professor Ni.
Thank you. Let me share my. Good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much.
Waalaikumsalam. Bu Rosna, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, Bapak Professor. Nama tak jumpa.
Long time no see, ya.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I wish I am there joining you.
Thanks so much. Professor Haseker, nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you too, Professor Hassan. Okay.
Thank you very much. I wish we could all have an Indonesian lunch soon. So.
Okay, Professor Eko will treat you.
Okay. Okay. Firstly, let me thank Dr. Oscar for your kind words and kind introduction. And I also would like to express my heartfelt thanks to my dear friend, Professor Agus Pramosinto. And congratulations for having this conference on a digital platform. And also thank you for inviting me. Also, my dear friend also, Professor Dr. Eko Prasojo, President of AGPA, and the Dean of the Faculty of Administrative Studies, UE, yeah? And Professor Dr. Haseker, University of Groningen, Netherlands, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to share with you on this managing pandemic COVID-19, the Malaysian case. Okay. Malaysia has been lauded as one of the government that has been able to handle this, the impact of the pandemic COVID-19. So I would like to share the case, which I shall say that Malaysian government has made an earnest effort in managing the pandemic. This is my outline. I would first introduce to you my presentation, and then update to you on the status of the COVID-19 outbreak in Malaysia. What are the actions taken, and looking at the impact and challenges, and finally conclusion. As we know since this morning, yeah, we are now facing a situation that has never been experienced before, and that this COVID-19 pandemic has challenged our government, our economic, and our social system. So experts in various fields have predicted that even if this pandemic were to end, we would see drastic changes in what we considered normal. For example, in how we move around, the way we interact with one another, the way we do business, all this would change. This conference, for instance, using digital platform, is now becoming the norm. As a way of introduction, I would also like to share with you on the Malaysia's background amidst this COVID pandemic. Muhyiddin, the current Prime Minister, he came into power in February 2020 following the resignation of the Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad, yeah, and has since survived a razor-thin majority. Yeah. For many decades, usually the ruling party has the two-third majority, but not this time. Yeah. And amidst this also, it must be mentioned that Malaysia's political instability since the collapse of the Barisan Nasional that had been in ruling since independence, so for over 63 years. Yeah. So currently, as we are talking, Malaysia is also battling a sudden resurgence in the outbreak of COVID-19. So this is following the Sabah election in October 2020 that we see an alarming spike of the cases, new cases. So such that a few days back, Muhyiddin wants to impose a state of emergency, a move that has been widely condemned by the country's opposition politicians and also alarmed the Malaysians at large. And Conference of Rulers conferred on this matter and said that no, that should not be any state of emergency to be declared. So moving on, looking at the status of the COVID-19 outbreak in Malaysia, up to now, Malaysia had reported 3 waves of COVID-19, the first wave ending successfully within less than 2 months. In March 2020, the second wave occurred and with worrying situation. And now the third wave is even more worrying, catalytic by the election on, as I said, in October 2020 in Sabah. So the first COVID-19 positive was reported in February 3rd, 2020. So in March 18, 2020, the government introduced this movement control order, or they call it MCO, and the borders were all closed. Economic activities come to a standstill, and all institutions, academic institutions, except for the government offices, were closed. So just looking at the a picture that's going on right now in Malaysia. As of 7 November, a few days back, 1,168 new cases reported, making it a total of 39,357 positive cases and 11,006, almost 12,000 active cases. This is the top countries with the highest number of COVID cases. As at April 11, I was looking for the current, but I could not find it. So US tops with more than 500 cases, and Malaysia at number 34 with 4,346, but that was in April. So now October, we have a different story. This is as of 7 November. The total number of confirmed cases rose almost double. 39,357 confirmed cases. Okay. This is following the spikes, as I said, the peak in October after the election in Sabah. Okay. So globally, as of 10 November 2020, there have been more than 50 million confirmed cases, including 1.3 million of deaths as reported to WHO. So what are the actions taken? One is the twin approach, the imposition of the movement control order, or MCO, and also the testing. So there was this nationwide quasi-lockdown measure commenced on 18 March when Malaysia's new case reached the first 500 mark. So then all non-essential government and private sector services were ordered closed, and movements, gatherings are prohibited, and all Malaysians are strongly advised to stay at home. And all the citizens are mandated to undergo compulsory quarantine upon returning from abroad. So, and the fact is that it was announced slightly more than 2 weeks after Malaysia's recent political crisis. So we had this political crisis when the PH toppled the Barisan Nasional that was in ruling for, as I said, 63 years. Yeah? And then in less than 22 months, yeah, the PH dismantled again. And so in less than 2 weeks after that, the new government announced the MCO. So this underscores the responsiveness of the government, despite the confusion over the political turbulence. This is just, as I said, just soon after the change of government from PH under Tun Mahathir, a government of 22 months, to Pakatan Nasional under Muhyiddin Yassin. So despite this COVID-19, the background is that there is this political instability in Malaysia. So the MCO is complemented with contact tracing and testing, and it is rigorously done. So, and then after the MCO, then there is also this enhanced MCO in areas with high infection. And for the purpose, the funding to the Ministry of Health, 1.5 billion to increase the screening capacity. And together also technology come up from mostly MySejahtera and Selangkah, and everywhere all Malaysians are strongly advised to register to this MySejahtera or Selangkah for the monitoring purposes. And also there is this famous Prihatin package, this financial assistance to minimize the economic impact of this pandemic. This stimulus package is for the people and also for the businesses. It's worth, beginning March 27, a package worth 260 billion ringgit or US dollars 64.6 billion. And also 6 months moratorium, meaning that those who are having loan, housing loan, car loans, they do not have to pay the loan for 6 months. So now in this month, they are starting to pay the loan, interest-free. So these stimulus packages had a face value of 18.1% of its GDP to support the micro, the small and the medium-sized enterprises. It includes loan deferment, wage subsidies, cash handouts, and free internet for Malaysians for 6 months. So this bantuan, there are many more, but in this screen, I am highlighting what are those loans that benefited the Malaysian citizen. The Ministry of Health, of course, had a billion fund allocation, and then the healthcare personnel were given 600 allowance. Now it has already been increased to 800 ringgit allowance. For the frontliners such as the police, the immigration, the custom personnel, and also for families, for the poor, they call it the B40, and they receive one-off payment for the households, and that's a lot. For me to go through there, but what I'm trying to, my point here is that there are tremendous financial assistance given to cushion the impact of the pandemic to the poor. And the most recent is the budget in 2021 that was tabled on November the 6th. This is the first budget for the Perikatan Nasional government since taking over in March this year. So as you see, when they take over the government, they face the COVID-19 pandemic. So a budget of US dollars 67.4 billion is allocated to the for this 2021, and US dollar 4.3 billion for the for the management of COVID-19 fund. So the top three goals for the budget are the welfare of the people, the business continuity, and economic resilience. So the government is now balancing between the health of the people as well as the economic resilience. They know that if we were to go on with this MCO, the economy of the country will collapse. So all these are not costless. Yeah, Malaysia is losing as much as 2.4 billion ringgit daily. Yeah, during the MCO. Yeah, but that's also because of this federalism. Malaysia's system of federalism. It has this coordinating the national strategy between the federal government that has been very strong, yeah, to impose nationwide measures. Though in general there is this adherence, but also there are some outliers. Yeah, outliers do happen. So some states do not follow, but till now it has not. The Putrajaya government has been able to contain this from the state governments. And another cause is that the tourism and travel industries, manufacturing, construction, mining, agriculture are very much damaged. Yeah? Many workers are laid off, and in fact, many individuals go bankrupt. Yeah? Stock market, yeah, it fell to 20.52% at the beginning of the year, and now further damage with this current situation. So also the airlines, Air Asia Group, for example, the stock plummeted to 63% beginning of the year. And employment, it used to be Malaysia experienced 0% employment, but now it is at 4.7% unemployment. And another challenge is that this has been a pain in the neck for Malaysia for many decades, because it attracted many refugees, mostly the Rohingya. Yeah? So during this time also, the arrival of hundreds of Rohingya refugees in early April triggered another robust opposition, more so because compounded by the worrying of the infection of the COVID-19. And of course, there are also the existing foreign workers, and the concern is that they are not forthcoming for the testing of COVID. About 14,000 or so foreign workers have been tested, vis-a-vis more than 5 million of them were in the country. So this hesitation to play the part in breaking the chain campaign in Malaysia. In conclusion, enforcing an MCO was the biggest decision by the government, because in barely 3 weeks that they become the government, they have to confront this MCO. Of course, it has obviously affected so many sectors, especially the economy. But the commendable part is that all Malaysians had showed their full support of the MCO enforcement in handling this pandemic here. And of course, the Prihatin package has been one of the beneficial initiatives that has been announced by the government, and followed by this drastic measure of 6 months moratorium offered by the Bank Nasional Malaysia, Bank Negara Malaysia, to reduce this financial impact. So thus far, although there's the spike in October till now, following the election, when it was before a single-digit new cases, but a sudden spike in October until now, when the numbers rose to more than 1,000 per day. Yeah. But it has so far managed to arrest the spread. And also there is no backlash from the society, at least not now. So far, there has never been any demonstration or protest from the rakyat. And they're all very, how shall I say, compliant to the government. So in terms of ASEAN, there should be a coherent, because I don't think any country can handle this pandemic in isolation. So at least in terms of ASEAN, there should be a coherent, multi-sectoral, multi-stakeholder ASEAN approach. Because many have said the world will never be the same again, and we need to acclimatize to this new normal. And so how do we go about that remains the question. Thank you very much.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much, Professor Rosnah. It was really good explanation regarding the situation of COVID-19 in Malaysia. And I think it's a really good lesson learned for us in Indonesia. So according to your presentation, Malaysia have election, October 2020, and we will have election in the 9 December. And many experts already say that it is actually what is that? We need to be really careful, regarding the election in Indonesia. And actually we will have discussion because there is a question regarding that explanation, Professor Rosnah. Okay, thank you so much, Professor Rosnah, Dean Rosnah, Professor Holzaker, Dean Eko, for the explanations and presentations. So we already have some questions for all of you, Professor Holzaker, Professor Rosnah, and Professor Oko. First is for Professor Holzaker. So the question is, how do you see the challenge of direct participation in ASEAN, and what should the government prepare for ideally implement the governance of SDGs? So I will try to repeat it again, Professor Holzaker. So the question is, how do you see the challenge of direct participation, particularly in ASEAN, and what should the government prepare for ideally implement the governance of SDGs? Please, Professor Holzaker.
Okay, thank you very much for that very intriguing question. I guess a lot of citizen participation needs to happen in local areas, starting at the neighborhood and city level, and responding to ASEAN initiatives. But there are also groups of citizens and civil society that are meeting parallel to summit meetings of ASEAN, the ASEAN People's Forum, those kinds of things. And I think those are also important to put issues on the agenda of the region. I live in Europe. A lot of interest groups, civil society, are involved not only in lobbying The Hague here in the Netherlands, but also in Brussels. So I think citizens should be engaged both at their local level on sustainable development, but also reaching across to citizens and groups in neighboring countries across Southeast Asia to try to make a difference in the ASEAN agenda. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Holzaker. Next is for Professor Eko. Professor Eko, this question, it is simple question, but I think it is very important. According to your presentation, Professor Eko, actually, what should government strategy to deal with those situations that you have mentioned, Professor Eko? For example, the ICT, the millennial, the flexible working arrangement, and the other future situation that you already mentioned. What should the government do, and what strategy that the government should prepare to deal with this situation, Professor Eko? Please, Professor Eko.
Thank you, dear Mas Oscar. Thank you, Prof. Nick, and also Prof. Ron, yeah, for very nice explanations. I think what government should do is that the government should seriously transform the public administrations in Indonesia. For example, by seriously transforming the structural organization from hierarchical into the flat organizations, yeah, by introducing completely and holistically, comprehensively IT into the governments, into the public service delivery, and reforming the interactions amongst the unit in the governments by using the ICT. But also seriously transform the culture, yeah. So the silo mentality and ego-sectoralist culture into the share culture, share information, data, knowledge, and so on. But also, I think by reform the regulations, so deregulation, also re-regulations of regulatory in central, provincial, and also local governments. So the problem facing Indonesia right now is how to integrate, consolidate the public policy in the multi-level governance, as mentioned by Professor Haus Hacker. So in implementing, for example, sustainable development goals. So from New York, from UN into the small city or small island in Indonesia is not easy, because in the fragmented and decentralized government like Indonesia, it is very difficult to make sure that the national strategy could be also effectively implemented in small island and small city with the multi-party system and also so decentralized, fragmented authority. So this is the challenges that we have. So to, I think, implement, for example, SDGs agenda in Indonesia. So the reform in the multi-level governance system is very important, I think. So to match, to consolidate, to integrate, and to share the vision between central, provincial, and also local governments. So the country like Indonesia is very big. We cannot manage Indonesia from Jakarta, but we have to make sure that the vision in Jakarta will be also implemented in local governments. This is my answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Eko. A very nice explanation regarding how we need to reform the regulation and many things. And one of the important things also how the visions of government is not only centralized in Jakarta, but also decentralized to all Indonesian area. Thank you so much, Professor Eko. Okay, next, Professor Rosnah. So, Professor Rosnah.
Mas Oscar, can I leave earlier because I have an agenda with General Assembly meeting?
Okay, Professor Eko. Okay,
thank you very much,
thank you so much,
Bapak Ibu, Prof. Nick and Prof. Ron, ya, participant. Nice to meet you. Hope meet you again. Thank you.
Stay healthy. Thank you so much, Professor Eko. Yeah, actually, Professor Eko said to me that he has to leave 2 o'clock, but he still stay here until now. Okay, so Professor Rosnah, you have questions. Malaysia already have a first wave, a second wave, a third wave regarding this COVID-19. Indonesia, we are not sure yet whether we are in the first wave, in the second wave, or third wave. And then, according to your opinion, what should be lesson learned from Malaysia for Indonesia, Professor Rosnah. In particular, previously mentioned regarding the election, particularly we will have election, actually quite big election in December 9. Please, Professor Rosnah.
Okay, thank you, Mas Oscar, and thank you for the question. Just to share with you, when the budget 2021 that was tabled recently on the 6th of November, it should have been debated in the Parliament, and there should be an election, a general election, but that general election was stalled. So until don't know when. Okay? So as I said, the pilihan raya kecil, the small election in Sabah, already sparked a numerous increase in the number of new cases. So that is just a small election. So can you imagine if there is a nationwide election? So, so for that purpose, the Malaysian government has stalled the general election date unidentified. It's open. So that's the reason I think it's a very most welcoming decision made by the government that the rakyat has welcomed, because majority, the rakyat does not want any general election, because we have seen what happened in October, from single digit cases or sometimes 0 cases in a day, suddenly we shot to thousands of cases within a day, 1,400 cases in a day. So the lesson learned is that there shouldn't be any gathering. And so far, Malaysians have been, as I said, very compliant. There has no protest. In fact, the rakyat are the one that is asking for MCOs to be until the curve is flattened. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor.
Yeah. If I may just add, Mas Oscar.
Okay, please.
The government actually has been pressured by opposition parties to have this election. Anwar Ibrahim and Tun Mahathir, they all come up with many reasons to say that there should be election. And Anwar, in fact, has seen the Agong, that he has the numbers and that this current government should go. But thus far, the rakyat wants the current government to stay on because they has proven that they are able to handle the pandemic. And so recently, the Agong has called for the Conference of Rulers, and the Conference of Rulers has agreed that there should not be any emergency declared in the country, and that this current government to stay on. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Rosnah, for the great explanation and suggestion, I think, for us in Indonesia. And I can leave this question because this is directly from our president, Professor. I think this is from Professor Agus to Professor Holzeker. How is the flow of people among European countries during the COVID-19 pandemic? Professor Holzeker, this question from Professor Agus.
Yes, thank you very much. Basically, the Netherlands has declared most of Europe also an orange zone. So the very strong recommendation is to not travel abroad at this time. Internally now, these 2 weeks especially, we are on semi-lockdown. So everybody's working at home. All the restaurants are closed, so only available for takeout. The schools are open, but the universities are almost all classes are webinars like this one. We're only allowed to invite one person from outside the household to visit us in a house, and also on the street. If we go, we're only allowed to be with one other person. So it's very locked down right now, but very little travel between countries right now inside Europe.
Very little moving, yeah, transportation, yeah, Professor Holzeker. So that's the answer, Professor Agus. Okay, so that's all for our second plenary session today. And on behalf of the committee, Professor Holzeker, Professor Rosna, we are thank you very much for your attendance and giving us a valuable knowledge today. So this is the certificate of appreciations. First is Professor Eko, and then second, this is for you, Professor Holzeker. Thank you so much, Professor Holzeker. And then the third is for Professor Dr. Rosna Wan Abdullah. Thank you so much, Professor Rosna, to be here and give us a valuable, again, knowledge. Thank you so much, Professor Holzeker, Professor Rosna. Again, thank you so much for all your attendance. And then I will give back, I will give it to our Secretary General, Professor Bepaula. Sorry. Okay, Bola, please, Bola.
Yeah, thank you, Mas Oscar. Hey everyone, I'm here to announce the best paper for 2020 annual IAPA conference. I have to tell something about the best paper. The significance of the field of public administration, and the extent to which the paper is interesting. Third, the theoretical or conceptual contribution. Fourth, the use of appropriate methodological figure. And last one is about the clarity of writing. And we have 4 sub-themes for this year conference, and the best paper for the same public administration and digital transformation goes to paper titled Interaction Patterns and Sentiments of Citizens Towards Mobile JKN Application. Okay, and written by Dini Suripanam Alamanda and et al. And the second one, the same Agile Bureaucracy and Dynamic Governance. The best paper goes to article titled Embedded Underperformance Silver Lining Evidence of Performance System Track in Reform Prominent Government Agencies, written by Desi Haryati and Daphne Holidin. And the third, Leadership and Crisis. The best paper goes to Leadership and Crisis Communication during COVID-19, the case of Brunei Darussalam, written by Dr. Lily Pang. And the last, same Politics, Economy, Social, Technology, and it goes to paper titled Local Government Food Security Program in Attaining Peace and Development in Maguindanao Province, Philippines by Saidamin Bagalong and Baiking Balinse. So congratulations for all the 4 best paper this year, and we will send you the certificate by email. Thank you. Now we continue to the second parallel session. So you all have the link, and now go to the stream that you belong to. And once again, thank you very much for joining this conference. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Uni.
Prof. Agus Pram,
Yeah.
would like to say something, Professor Agus Pram?
Yeah, thank you very much for Prof. Rosna, Prof. Holzeker, and Prof. Eko for giving very insightful presentation. Yeah, we are very happy to listen to very nice ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Rosna. Thank you very much, everyone.
Bye.
See you again. See you in Indonesia directly, not through online.
I am waiting for that time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And for the participants, you can directly join the link that already shared by the committee.
Thank you, sir. This link for stream 6, stream 5. Sorry, stream 5.
Bapak bahasa Indonesia, Gus.
Sekarang yang untuk room ini adalah untuk stream 5. Untuk stream masing-masing silahkan untuk bergabung melalui link dalam chat room.
Bisa gabung ke bagi bola.
Yoga, makasih. Pak, ada yoga, Pak.
Wah, ya.
Pram.
Dari mana ya?
Saya lagi di Groningen, Pak.
Oh, Groningen. Oke, ya. Ini musim apa sana ya?
Ini lagi udah mau winter, Pak, lagi fall.
Ya, ya. Makasih sudah menghubungi Ron.
Sama-sama, Pak.
Ya.
Eventnya kapan, Yoga?
Kemungkinan malah mundur Februari tahun depan bola. Pending semua nih gara-gara lockdown.
Ya, ya.
Tapi berarti sampai Februari ya?
Iya.
Iya. Yang di sini kita dipindah kemana, Gusma? Apa Rizky? Pindah
Gimana, Bu?
masuk ke
Di main room aja seperti yang tadi siang, Bu.
presenter itunya siapa? Moderatornya?
Mbak Diah? Ibu
Mbak
Diah?
Diah ya? Mbak Diahnya.
Halo, Bu Ola.
Yes, Mbak. Silakan, Mbak.
Sudah bisa mulai ini?
Ya.
Halo, Prof. Agus.
Halo.
How are you?
Very good. Wah.
Dari Amerika, Pak. Masih itu, Pak.
You look very fresh.
Lagi jet lag. Ngantuk banget. Di Amerika jam 3.
3 pagi ya?
Pagi.
Oh. Berarti habis tahajud ini ya?
Ya.
Mbak Diah di Amerika sampai kapan?
Saya udah di Bali, Pak.
Oh,
Mas,
di Bali.
Oh, masih udah di Bali.
Ke Bali. Jet lag-nya ke Bali. Kemarin
di Bali.
Kebanyakan jet lag-nya.
Kok sudah mirip Joe Biden, Mbak?
Aduh, nggak Kamala Harris ya? Pasti Pak
Oh,
Mulak.
Kamala Harris. Salah ya.
Joe Biden kan udah tua, Pak. Saya
Kamala Harris ya.
Kamala Harris.
Ya, Joe Biden jadi rekor nih, presiden tertua ya.
Tadi kirain Kamala Harris hadir di konferensinya Yapan.
Iya.
Itu apanya Jubaidi ya?
Bukan Joe Biden, tapi Joe Baidiah.
Baidiah. Ini peserta udah pada join belum ya? Mbak Agus mah.
Oh, pakai absen aja Mbak di listnya itu Mbak ya.
Bisa saya mulai ya?
Dipanggil aja.
Ini dipanggil-panggil aja ya? Kalau nggak ada berarti di skip ya ntar.
Ini Pak, nanti belakangan.
Okay, good afternoon all participants who attended in this parallel session 2 in 22 IAPA Annual Virtual International Conference with the theme is Strengthening Governance Capacity and Public Administration Amidst Pandemic and New Normal Era. So let me introduce myself. My name is Dr. Nyomandiah Utari Dewi. So I will be the moderator for this session in stream 5. Okay, I will call the presenters of today is Ahmad Sofiuddin, and then Tutik Rahmawati and Davia Constantia Viola, Asmia Reza Agustina, Diah Ayu Febriani, David Malsiel Raffaelli, Santi Febrianti Panca Putri, Ardiansyah Dani Darmawan, and Novi Widya Ningrum and team. So is Ahmad Sofiuddin already in the room? Hello. Ahmad Sofiuddin. Or who is in these presenters attended at this moment?
Hello, Budia.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. For the paper of ethical behaviors of actors in public procurement, the first name that will be me, Tutik Rahmawati. But then we have Daifa to present the paper. I will present the one who's under the name Asmia Reza. So the second and the third on the book program.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
Now the presenter is Davia Constantia Viola.
Yes.
Yes. With the paper Ethical Behavior of Actors in Public Procurement in Bandung City. So the time is yours. I will give 8 minutes for this presentation. Thank you.
Is the screens already seen?
Yes, yes, it's already appears.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity that has been given to me. I feel very grateful to be involved in this conference. Before we start, my name is Daifa Constantia Viola from Parahyangan Catholic University. Today, I will present a research paper entitled Ethical Behavior of Actors in Public Procurement in Bandung City, West Java, Indonesia, which was written by Mrs. Tutik Rahmawati and myself as the second author. During the presentation, please remind me if there's something wrong with the sound or my presentation display related to the internet connection or others. Let me start. The procurement of public goods and services has become significant governance work to meet development needs. Almost all development processes carried out in Indonesia are through the process of procuring goods and services. According to the head of the Regional Office of the Directorate General of Treasury of the Ministry of Finance of the Republic of Indonesia in North Sulawesi Province, in his speech, the procurement of public goods and services make up nearly 70% of the state budget atau APBN portion by volume. Therefore, the sector is very vulnerable to corruption and violation. Now, what is public procurement? Public procurement begins when an organization has identified and decided on
makasih.
Excuse me, who is that?
Baik, Pak. Baik, Pak. Iya, terima kasih, Pak.
I think it's the APA Secretariat. That's the
Rizky.
I will continue.
Operator, Ibu Agusma. Hello, operator. Please kindly mute the participant who not unmute yet. Okay, Miss Divya, please proceed.
Okay.
Continue the paper. Sorry.
Public procurement begins when an organization has identified need and decided its procurement requirements. Procurement continues through the process of risk assessment, seeking and alternative solutions, contract award, delivery of and payment for and audit services, and where relevant, the ongoing management of a contract and consideration of options related to the contract. And the regulation governing the procurement of goods and services is as follows: Presidential Regulation number 16 of 2016, the regulation of the head of LKPP number 18 of the 2014, LKPP Institution Regulation number 17 of the 2018 concerning blacklist sanction for government procurement of goods and services. The two regulations below is the regulation for blacklist sanction. What is blacklist sanction? According to Presidential Decree number 16, 2018, blacklist sanctions are the sanctions given to election participants, providers in the form of prohibition from participating in the procurement of goods, service in all ministries, institutions, regional apparatus within a certain period of time. What is the objective of this procurement? The implementation of the procurement of goods and services in Indonesia is carried out on the principle of fulfilling the maximum benefit for carrying out public services. In order to keep the process in accordance with the procedures, a blacklist was used as a sanction mechanism. There are 5 cases of violation of the blacklist mechanism in Indonesia, where goods providers who have been blacklisted can still participate in the process of procuring government goods and services. In that case, there was involvement of the providers and procurement officers. Why Bandung City? Because providers in Bandung City are still recorded as having committed violation in procurement, so that they are blacklisted.
Yang alasan dimasukin dulu. Yang alasan dimasukin stream.
Halo, Ibu Agusma.
Iya, Bu, maaf.
Control.
Yeah.
Please unmute, thank you. Yes, please
continue.
Yes.
This was a violation of the blacklisting mechanism, the 5 cases. One of the cases of error in the procurement process that was won by a blacklisted provider in Depok was caused by the negligence of the ULP procurement officer. And the research question we made is, what form of violation of government goods services providers against the blacklist mechanism of goods services procurement in Bandung City? And the conceptual framework we use is integrity concept. Integrity is defined as acting in accordance with relevant moral values, standard norms, and rules. And there is a two conceptual framework for this integrity. They are by Hubert Skoltov and Huvell, and the other is by Koltov Raymond and Terence Johnson, that argue that corruption, fraud, discrimination, and intimidation, stealing, and careless use of the organization property are all integrity violations. And we are making new categorization for integrity indicator. First is corruption, second is fraud and theft of resources, three promises, gift, discount, and that cannot be accountable for, conflicts of interest, use of violence, improper methods of policy implementation, misuse and manipulation of information and communication using ICT, discrimination and sexual harassment or indecent treatment of citizens, waste and abuse of organizational resources, and the last one is offense in leisure time. And providers and procurement officer are said to have integrity if they do not take the following action I have said above. And research methodology, we use qualitative research methods with the type of case study research, and data analysis take a plausible picture of the finding, like interview, document study, and observation. A detailed with explanation is used with arguments and theoretical comparison. The data source, we use primary data source, first-hand information, result of the interviews with providers and OLP officers, and the selection of informants use snowball technique. And the secondary data source is other source that we are available before the study was conducted, is national blacklist and list of the name of the providers. And this is the result of our research. From this graphic, we can see the depiction of ethical behavior, scale 1, shows that providers and OLP officers have behaved ethically with integrity. If we see the graphic right now of the 10 indicators of behavior with integrity, provider and OLP officer have successfully fulfilled 7 indicators and cannot fulfill the rest of 3 indicators above.
Excuse me, you have 1 minute left.
Thank you. And the 3 is corruption, inappropriate methods of implementing policy, and the information misuse and manipulating using ICT. And our conclusion of this research is, based on the finding, it is evident that actors in Indonesia public procurement still shows unethical behavior. This unethical behavior is a hindrance to public procurement reform. Our study that shed light on unethical behavior exhibited by the actors in public procurement is evident as the cause of the high corruption in public procurement in Indonesia. Further research on ethical behavior across Indonesia, covering all actors in public procurement, is necessary for stronger evidence of the cause of corruption in public procurement in Indonesia. Maybe that's all from me. Thank you and good afternoon.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Devia Constantia Viola, for the presentation. So we are going to the next presentation. Is Mr. Ahmad Sofyuddin here, or Ibu Tuti Ramawati maybe?
I'm here, I'm ready to present.
Yeah, for Asmia Reza Agustina, right?
Yes, for both of us.
Okay, so Ibu Tuti Rahmawati will present the paper with title The Use of Information, Communication and Technology, or ICT, to enable transparency, accountability, and participation in Indonesia. The time is yours, Bu, for 8 minutes.
8 minutes. Okay, so I actually prepared this for 10 minutes presentation, so let me speed up. Thank you, Budia, for the opportunity, and everyone. It's very lovely to be here. So the title of the paper that I'd like to present is the use of ICT to enable transparency, accountability, and participation in Indonesia. this is actually a daring effort from all of us. We initially wanted to prove if the use of ICT actually matters for the corruption eradication in Indonesia. But then we cannot, we think that we will not be able to get any data to show the changes in the corruption. So what we can do is to prove that the use of ICT will give or enable transparency, accountability, and participation. So this is the agenda for today. I'm going to present three main things: the why, the academic reason to this study, the method of the study, and the finding and the analysis. So this is the why, the research question. We have this claim that ICT actually enable transparency, accountability, and participation. We have previous study by several research by my team also, and also by Purin NC 2014 by the OECD as well. And from this previous study, it shows that the ICT could help government to fight corruption. But then we also have an argument from the Richard Hicks saying that the ICT is actually a panopticon vision that could provide corruption, but also a new form of opportunity. Sorry. Okay, next one. This is our research question. Our research question is how ICT as panopticon vision enable transparency, accountability, and participation. So we regard the ICT as panopticon vision by the idea of Jeremy Bentham. As I mentioned before, this is our daring endeavor actually, because initially the use of ICT is always argued to eradicate corruption, but it's difficult to identify. And then there's no such data or index to show the measurement of how the changes in the corruption by the ICT. This is the research model or literary framework that we came up with. So we've done several review of the literatures to come up with what are the transparency, what are the indicators of accountability, and what are the indicators of participation. So we have this about 15 indicators to identify what has been done in Indonesia. We identified, or we use these 15 indicators to study and to analyze the websites and also the apps. So this is what the literature review provide us. We have these 8 indicators for the transparency. We have the 4 indicators for accountability, and we have 3 indicators for participation. I'm not going to go into detail with this, but for example, I'll go with the participation. We have indicators of voting and polling there, and also feedback and ideation platform, and also crowdsourcing to report corruption. Other than that, we are able to discuss it further in the question and answer session. And this is our research methodology. We use qualitative research, but we are doing a background checking. We are also doing a reference checking, and we also use O'Leary data analysis. Right, and then this is the findings. So we refer to 2 policy here. The first one is the presidential regulation of number 95 of 2018 about the SPBE, or government system, electronic based government system. We also refer to INPRES number 7 of 2015, in which it stipulated about 31 actions of the government using ICT. So we actually using this INPRES number as the basis of our study. So you see there that most websites and apps, yes, they do enable transparency, accountability, and participation. There are 35 ICT systems, consists of 31 websites and 4 apps. So in total, there are 18 websites and 4 apps that are available. And from these 31 actions that are stipulated in INPRES number 7, we cannot find, or there are 3 unidentified websites. And also there are 10 unavailable websites. This means around 13 websites that are stipulated in the interest number 7, they're actually not having good map. And then this is our analysis. And this is actually also fit into our reference that Indonesian government, first of all, Indonesian government enable transparency, means they have encouraged, or government encourage more information flows freely from government to citizen. This is in accordance with what has been said by Sri Marga Wibowo and ICIA 2018. And also Indonesian government, by the use of ICT, also enable accountability, means that the government are more answerable for the action, they're more accountable. This is confirm what has been found by Peg Seoto. Right. And we also have a finding that the Indonesian government also enable transparency, meaning that government have encouraged people to participate in the government activities. Right. So, as we mentioned before, that Richard Hicks argued ICT also created a new form of corruption. We also found that one. So there are, we found about 3 indications that actually the ICT in Indonesia make a new forms of corruption. That is in e-procurement, of course. The project is broken down into value less than 2,000 million, so that they do not have to be procured. They can be directly assigned. And also KPK suspected that fintech or financial technology is used as a means for money laundering, apparently. And also there still happen about fictitious work visit and budget markup still happen in the legislative. Right.
Okay, Bu, time is finished.
Okay, I still have 1 to go, but that's all right. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Tuti, for the presentation. So I would like to call another presenter who is available at this moment. Ibu Diah Ayu Febriani.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ibu Diah Ayu Febriani will present a paper with title Understanding Civil Servants' Readiness to Work from Home, the Roles of Demographic Factors. Time is yours. Minute, okay. Thank you.
Belum, ini masih di sini.
Hello.
Kena.
Kena atau enggak?
The paper are shown.
Ibu Diah.
Are the paper are shown at the screen?
Yes. Maybe Ibu
Tuti.
This is still Ibu Tuti presentation paper.
Oh, sorry.
Can you please turn off? Okay, thank you.
Wait a minute, please.
Okay. So if there's any question, please write in the chat box. We will read after the presentation all done. Okay, time is yours, Ibu.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone, and honorable judges. My name is Dewi Febriani, and 2 authors behind this paper, Fitri Arianti and Dr. Philosophy Reza Fatur Rahman, Magister Public Policy, who present our paper entitled Understanding Civil Servant Readiness to Work from Home, the Roles of Demographic Factors. And here is the outline and introduction. In early 2020, various countries around the world are facing a COVID-19 pandemic, which not only disturbed the health sector, but also has a notable effect on the social, economic, and the country. Various countries in the world are required to be able to face this pandemic even when with limited information and many uncertainties. In facing this situation, a country must be able to act agile and adaptive. especially in making appropriate policy making. So, in Indonesia, the pandemic is considered a momentum in optimizing the implementation of bureaucratic reform, one of which is so that civil servants are able to adapt and improve their abilities so that bureaucratic service remain optimal by doing work and providing service digitally. Work from home insertion is one of the changes that occur in Indonesian bureaucracy, which relies on the ability and competence of the civil servant.
According to the instruction, in preference step from Menpan RB, actually government in Indonesia already make great move to face this pandemic, but work from home are not automatically accepted and implemented properly by all civil servants in Indonesia. It requires personal commitment, knowledge, and supporting facilities. As long as work from home is implemented, civil servants are in a doubtful performance, like delays in public service, adaptation time in using the online system, etc. Test readiness is needed in implementing work from home, because civil servants are not fully able to perform well while implementing work from home. In several studies, readiness can be seen by demographic factors such as position, age, level of education, and job tenure. And then in the study, the more young age, high education, and longer lines of work makes someone has more capability to implementing work from home. In the other hand, position is also one of the factors in doing work from home. So because of that factual problem, we're instructing to make this paper with research question is the level of civil servant readiness influenced by position, educational level, age, and job tenure. And then the next is literature review.
And literature review is we use readiness coaching by Holt et al. 2017. And the first one of the dimension is appropriateness, where itself means that there is confidence of individual if a change made is the right way to solve the problem, and where there is change considered necessary and useful. The second one is management support. This dimension itself indicates the existence of top management support, which refers to the level individual belief that leaders in the organization are able to commit and support the implementation of change. The third one is change-specific efficacy, refers to the level of individual belief that they have the ability and skills to carry out tasks and activities when the change is implemented. And the last one is the personal volunteers. Sorry, the presentation is one going out. And here's the method.
And for the method, we're using quantitative approach with using online survey questionnaire with 383 respondents, and then the analysis using multiple linear regression to see influence between dependent and independent factors such as age, position, level of education, and length of work. And then the next slide, we show the regression linear result. From the result in the multiple linear regression, so that 3 out of 4 independent variable, which is position effect on the readiness of civil servant in implementing work from home, with position significant effect on one person in a negative direction, and then age and level of education significant on 10%. Then the next is the result of discussion.
We're sorry because the PowerPoint is error, and I tried to show that presentation again.
You have 2 minutes left.
Oi.
I'm sorry, we have a trouble for presenting the PowerPoint.
Okay, you can read it and then.
Okay. Okay, for the result is, there's a significant level of the job tenure, age, and also the less education. Whereas the study, the benefit that can be solved in the philosophy of doing WFH are the question of a work-life balance. And also, according to the Holt, management support is like the management support from the agencies where the civil servant feels confidence they can work from home with their abilities and skills, because during WFH, civil servant is also provided with online seminars or what are known as webinar. And the last one is the dimension of personal balance. And the conclusion is,
okay,
the study aims to investigate the influence of 4 demographic factors. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for the presentations. And then next will be Bapak David Malciel Raffanelli. Are you present here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, time is yours, Pak. But wait a moment, I will read. So Bapak David Malciel Raffanelli and team will present a paper with title Teachers' Readiness in Implementing Work from Home Policy in Indonesia. Time is yours, Pak. 8 minutes, okay? Thank you.
Okay, I will present my research with my colleague, Rizky Purnama.
Okay. Good afternoon. We would like to present our team's research result about teachers' readiness level in implementing work from home policy in Indonesia, which is a part of a research conducted by a group of students from the Public Administration Study Program at the Faculty of Administrative Sciences, Universitas Indonesia. Our team consists of David Malciel Raffanelli, myself, Rizky Purnama Ersani Putri, Zahra Karina Putri, and our beloved lecturer, Mrs. Lina Miftahul-Jannah. Next. The COVID-19 pandemic and its massive spread required the Ministry of Administrative and Bureaucratic Reform to enact a new policy about the adjustment to the working system for state civil apparatus, which was then named by Work from Home or WFH. Adjusting to this policy, the Minister of Education and Culture produced Surat Edaran about learning from home or BDR carried out by distance learning or PJJ. Even though distance learning methods which utilizes technology-based learning provide various opportunities to create superior and innovative human resources, there are still some obstacles ahead. These obstacles include the internet network, and inadequate technical support facilities. Related to teachers as a civil apparatus, the obstacles are the low digital competence of teachers, instability of the internet network, and difficulties in managing learning, assessment, and supervision. This explains that the readiness of teachers as a civil apparatus in implementing distance learning in the framework of WFH policies is not yet optimal, both in terms of technology use and innovation in providing learning. In fact, the readiness of teachers in implementing WFH is a key strategy that determines the effectiveness of the implementation of WFH policies. Therefore, the subject matter discussed is how is the readiness of teachers in implementing the work from home policy. Next. Our research uses a quantitative approach to measure the level of teachers' readiness in implementing WFH policies based on the theory of readiness for organizational change by Holt, Armenakis, etc., through 4 readiness dimensions. The first is appropriateness, which is defined as the belief that certain changes are appropriate to address the situation in the organization that is being handled. The second is management support, refers to the level of individual belief that the leader in the organization is committed to and supports the implementation of change. The third is change-specific efficacy, refers to the level of individual belief that their abilities and skills to carry out tasks and activities when these changes are carried out. And the final is personal balance, refers to the level of individual belief that the proposed changes are personally beneficial to individuals. Our research is a descriptive research. We use online surveys with a total of 82 respondents and literature review. The quantitative data is then processed through the SPSS software using the Mann-Whitney U test to measure the difference of teachers' readiness based on regional and age, and the Kruskal-Wallis age test to measure the difference of teachers' readiness based on education level. Next. The first, I would like to explain about the theories that we're using. The first is the teleworking. There are three types of teleworking based on De Vries, etc. The first is home-based telework, the second teleworking from remote offices, and the third is mobile telework. In the study, we use the word work from home or WFH to refer to the home-based telework type by De Vries, etc. And the second is teachers' competence. Teachers' pedagogical competence in empowering students to face the challenges of the 21st century must be renewed and developed because today's digital revolution needs to be balanced with education transformation, teaching, and learning systems in school. This fact is also associated with Government Regulation Number 74 of 2008 on teacher, Article 3, Paragraph 4, Point F about utilization of learning technology. Here are some facts about the education in Indonesia, that the student-teacher ratio is 16:1, but the distribution is uneven. And the number of the certified teachers in Indonesia has not yet reached 50%. There are only 40% of the total teachers that are technologically literate. And the emergency curriculum is now established during the COVID-19 pandemic. Next.
Yeah. I would like to explain characteristic of our respondents. We differentiate our respondents by region, level of education, and age group. Although the respondents are spread all over Indonesia, most of the respondents live in Java Island. And there's something interesting in chart number 2, because there's one respondent who has vocational education, while the other respondents are in accordance with the legislation. For chart number 3, millennial generation refers to individuals under 40 years of age, while non-millennial group are 40 years and older. This is also related to the understanding of ICT as a prerequisite for the implementation of WFH policy in education. Next. From chart number 4, we can see that in all dimension was mostly in the medium category, so as overall readiness. In the first dimension is supported by the Minister of Education Culture's appeal, who stated that teaching and learning activities should be carried out at home using the use of technology, especially in areas that are still not safe from the threat of COVID-19 pandemic. In the second dimension, support from the leaders can be seen through various policy by the Minister of Education and Culture, such as relaxing the use of school, operational assistance or BOS, and provided supporting facilities such as learning quotas. In the third dimension, training and development for teachers to be adaptive and innovative in facing change also have been held by Education and Culture Ministry. In the fourth dimension is supported also by research from Purwanto 2020 that state that there are several advantages for teachers from implementing WFH, such as being more flexible in completing work, not having to spend transportation costs, and so on. Next. Based on region, it can be concluded there are differences in readiness in implementing WFH policy. There were still several obstacles that occurred during distance learning in rural area in terms of the operation of ICT and the availability of infrastructure such as internet access. And by age group, it can be concluded that there are also differences in readiness. Non-millennial age group who have work experience for more than 10 years have more opportunity to get digital-based education and training provided by the government than teachers at the millennial age. Last, by education level, it can be concluded that there are no differences in readiness in implementing WFH policy. The prerequisite for being a teacher is to have education at the bachelor's level. The skill factor of utilizing digital devices is the main aspect that affects the level of readiness of teacher in implementing WFH. Next.
1 minute
conclusion.
left.
First, teachers must be ready for various changes and developments in the Industrial Revolution 4.0 era. Second, the government must also make breakthrough in terms of developing teachers. Comprehensive range of stakeholders from all parties is very necessary to make learning process successful, not just during the COVID-19 pandemic, but also in the long term. And the last, the engagement of stakeholder is needed holistically with the role of both central and local government, teachers, parents, and also private sector. Next, yeah, that's all for us. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Pak David and team. It was on time, very on time. Good presentation. Okay, next will be Ibu Santi Febrianti Pancaputri. Are you here in the room?
Okay.
Okay. Ibu Santi will present a paper with the title An Online Petition in Public Policy, a categorical analysis of online petition in Indonesia. The time is yours.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shanti Febrianti Pancaputri from Parahyangan Katolik Parahyangan. This research was made by me and Mrs. Tutik Rahmawati. Our research is about an online petition in public policy, a categorical analysis of online petition in Indonesia. This is the outline of the presentation. According to they states that in the implementation of public policy making, the opinion of the political elite determines public policy more than public opinion determines public policy. The same thing was said by Sabatier that in policy making is dominated by elite opinion, while public opinion has less influence or even has no influence. So the public must increasingly participate in dealing with the issues that occur. So, what can the public do? What the public can do is make a petition. In today's modern era, petition using ICT, online petition or e-petitions make access easier and more efficient to expand the circulation of ideas, communicate without face-to-face, don't depend on presence, and constitute revival of the public space. Okay. The success of online petition in influencing government policy can be proven by the several victories that have been obtained. One of the online petition that has proven its influence on policymaking is Change.org. First, in the indication of the success of online petition, the release of Professor Bambang from PT Jatim Jaya Perkasa demands, and the governor of DKI Jakarta and the head of the DKI Jakarta Education Agency finally asked the school to remove the CCTV cameras, and Yusnia released from the trap of crime and the proof of the problematic ITE law. Based on the background described above, the argument that online petitions are able to change decision has been indicated by evidence that show online petitions have changed decision. So this research was conducted on 60 winning petitions as research object, which will be analyzed based on 5 indicators of online petition success. Research question: did the online petition succeed in changing the decisions? Okay. In research using several theories about online petition will be successful if issues are urgent and don't conflict with public opinions. The majority of the community knows the problems. The online petition should present credible fact. The online petition don't demand too many change, support quantity. And then policy change or decisions are divided to two types. First, intermediately effective, and ultimately effective. Ultimately effective online petitions are successful in changing decision to a degree of ultimately effective if the objectives of the online petition are achieved, and the online petition success in attracting the attention of the target in the online petition, it is ultimately effective level. Okay, this is methods in this research. The research method used in this research is qualitative research methods. The data collection technique used is data collection from external document generated from Change.org. Document data is generated from web scraping techniques. Web scraping is a technique used to extract data from the World Wide Web, which is saved to file system or database for analysis. Web scraping is recognized as very efficient and powerful for collecting big data. Data analysis was carried out descriptively with a simple descriptive quantitative analysis in the form of simple descriptive statistics, which are needed to further analyze the indicators of success of online petitions, as well as the implementation of sentiment analysis to categorize existing public opinion. Okay. This is the Change.org website, which a choice of Indonesian. The focus in this research is 60 victory petitions. Result and discussion. First, issues are deemed urgent and don't conflict with public opinion. In the mutual prosperity category, there were 14 winning petition with the highest number of signatures, namely 200,000 of the target of 300,000 signatures. Meanwhile, the petition with the lowest number signed, namely 200 signatures from the target of 500 signatures. In the category of social justice, there were 46 winning petitions. The petition that received the highest number of signatures, namely 1 million of the target of 1,500,000 signatures. Meanwhile, the petition received the lowest number of signatures, namely 200 signatures. And the urgent issue in online petition must certainly not conflict with public opinion. Decision makers don't want to make a decision that is contrary to the public opinion. So, from 142,000 comments, 28,000 comments are divided into 28 categories of public opinion. Public opinion with the category of people and society becomes the highest discussion in public. It has been shown that the issues raised are urgent and not in conflict with public opinion, so that it need to be addressed. Next, the majority of the community knows the problem. The total views on the petition for the category mutual prosperity had the highest number of 180,000 views and the lowest number of 100 views. Meanwhile, the total views on the petition in category of social justice, the highest total views amount to 2 million and the lowest was 61. And total share in the petition for the category of mutual prosperity had the lowest number of shares and the highest was 32,000 shares. Meanwhile, the total petition sharing in the social justice category has the highest number of 800,000 shares. It has shown that online petitions are widely known to the public. Next,
you have 1 minute left.
Okay. The online petition should present credible fact. The 60 petitions that have successfully won have met the criteria. One of indicator that has become a factor in the success of online petition is changing policy in petitioning, namely credible fact. 100% credible fact. And the online petition don't demand too many change. Okay. The success of online petition in changing decisions. There is a petition for the social justice category, 46 wins. The collective prosperity category petition exists 14 wins. Conclusion, 60 winning petitions have met the criteria for realizing a change in decision because they were able to fulfill 5 indicators of online petition success. However, online petitions are not the biggest influence in bringing about change in decision. This is because there is an implementation or process that is carried out outside the online petition, which is a supporting factor for the realization of a change in decision. Online petitions are able to change decision in level of ultimately effective. This means that online petitions are not only successful in getting the attention of petition recipients, but also succeed in getting a change of decisions. That's enough for me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ibu Santi, for the presentation. Next will be Bapak Adrian Syahdani Darmawan. Are you in the Zoom at this moment? For the other participants, please kindly mute your microphone, please. Thank you. Bapak Adrian Syahdani Darmawan, are you present? If not, maybe the last one, Ibu Novi Widyaningrum.
Hello.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Ibu Novi Widyaningrum will present a paper with title Understanding Anti-Vaccine Movement in Facebook in Indonesia, Socio-Political Context during 2018 and 2019. Time is yours, Bu. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Budia, for the opportunity to join this conference, IAPA International Conference 2020. I would like to present I would like to share my presentation first. Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Understanding the anti-vaccine movement in Facebook and Indonesian socio-political context. This is our preliminary finding of my dissertation. It is developed with Professor Dr. Laksono Trisnantoro, Dr. Befaula Kusumasari, and Dr. Nanang Indra Kurniawan. This is our background of the studies. The social movement in social media. The study observes the social movement in the digitalized world along with its role in the public policy process. It is especially on how the social movement has the access as well as spread and was formed the knowledge in the digitalized world, to be specific, Facebook, so that it can influence the success of failure of the certain policy. Mobilizing the knowledge through the social media.
Excuse me, who is that sound? Please turn off, please unmute. Thank you.
Okay. Mobilizing the knowledge through the social movement in the digitalized world is essential to be further explored in order to enrich the theories of governance and public policy. The case to be studied here is the anti-vaccine movement, which has developed in the digitalized world in the context of sociopolitics of Indonesia. Okay. Why the anti-vaccine, we choose anti-vaccine as a case studies? Because the vaccination or immunization program outcomes in Indonesia is going to decrease and decrease. We can see here in this picture, I get it from some medias. So the target or outcome of the vaccination is going to decrease and decrease by times. Then why anti-vaccine and social media? Because the internet is a well-established and important site of health-related information-seeking behavior, and moreover has a significant role in shaping health behaviors. However, primarily the literature examines anti-vaccination from a public health perspective only. However, the present literature on anti-vaccine is sporadic but limited, and it is not often linked with broader socio-politic dynamic understanding of health practices. There's a lack of ongoing research regarding the anti-vaccine community online, an important site of discourse and community organization. We apply qualitative approach here, and we try to explore 45 Facebook accounts and 5 Facebook fan base of anti-vaccine social movement. And we also applied corpus analysis discourse studies to analyze the discourse on these studies. The finding. The main result in the study is that the anti-vaccine social movement in Indonesia is an organization which is formed and has a dynamic network. There is an offline organization. However, they work, recruited, and mobile their members through social media. The anti-vaccine movement rejected the vaccine program by attacking the knowledge hegemony created by the medical world and the government. The movement has formed a new knowledge by issuing a counter discourse toward the medical discourse. The anti-vaccine movement in Facebook centered on the moral anger and structural repression by the government, agencies, worldwide institutions, pharmaceutical industry, and the media. Here's the scheme of the mobilization knowledge of anti-vaccine. The anti-vaccine movement member create a discourse of anti-vaccine through 2 types. It is a medical reason and socio-political agenda. They try to create anti-vaccine discourse related to religious and political issues, conspiracy theory. And from the medical reason, they create anti-vaccine discourse through the KIPI experience. KIPI here means kejadian ikutan pasca imunisasi. They work through blurring knowledge, make hypothesis shifting, information censorship, and attack the opposition. So after that, they try to spread the information through the Facebook here. Facebook user, they have a personal experience, and some of them also have religious and political partisan. So this is what happened in the Facebook. The Facebook member, after get information from anti-vaccine movement, which their anti-vaccine discourse, they will have a ideological polarization, cut or create network or their relationship. They will believe in conspiracy theory, and they will have a strong government distrust. After that, they will have a new member or new partisan for anti-vaccine social movement.
You have 1 minute left, Bu.
Okay. Facebook shows a strong Facebook shows strong logic and have a related to religious belief and conspiration style idea. In Indonesia, there are at least 6 main discourse blocked by the followers on the anti-vaccine movement through Facebook. The religion and conspiracy theory discourse are 2 most used discourse in order to reject the vaccine delivery program in Indonesia. The other discourse are a government distrust, side effect, chemical and toxin of the vaccine. So the conclusion is the fact so that the social media plays a role in spreading the ideas of anti-vaccine and gives a way for the movement to develop and to have a strong network, which is a dynamic and can survive for a long period of time. Anti-vaccine issues is not a single issue. It is related to social political issues. By mobilizing the knowledge through a social movement in the digitalized world, the anti-vaccine movement in Indonesia has a wider network and has a potential to influence the successful of the government program. That's enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Novi, for the presentations. As Ibu Novi is the last presenters for today, I will open the questions. So there are 2 questions at this moment. First is from Sarah Karina Putri. So the question is for Ibu Diah Ayu Febriani. The question is about an obstacle in implementing work from home related to instability of internet connection issues. Currently, how far government's attention to network infrastructure development, especially the limitation budget, government focus on handling COVID-19? Okay, Ibu Diah Ayu, are you here still?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. Okay, thank you, Zahra Karin.
So directly to Sarah Karyana Putri. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question, Zahra Karina Putri. I would like to answer the questions. And some of infrastructure that has been implemented as the responsibility of the government to support working from home is the Palaparing, with broadband internet access to 4,040 kabupaten, and also the best transceiver station or BTS. As long as BTS, like we used to know, the electricity connection from PLN in collaboration with private providers such as XL Axiata and V. There's infrastructure development that implemented from government to encourage and support work from home right now in the pandemic handling for COVID-19. That's for the answer, Ibu Diah Utari.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Diah Ayu. We have the same name. I hope it's not confused the participants. Okay, next question will be from Fitria Arianti. So the question will present to presenters David and Rizky. So the question is, what is the right step to improve the ability of teachers in Indonesia while qualifications related to teachers do not include the use of technology? Bapak David or Ibu Rizky, please answer directly the question. Are you still here?
The question will be answered by my colleague, Zahra Karina.
Okay. Please.
Okay. I will represent my partner. And so in teacher management in Indonesia, it is mandated in law number 14 of 2005 about teachers and lecturers, which describe the qualification and competence of teachers. Although currently it doesn't refer to specifically technological qualification, but it has been included in the government regulation number 74 of 2008 on teacher, article number 3, paragraph 4.f, which is about pedagogical competence of teachers, namely the utilization of learning technology. And to increase the capacity and ability of teachers, the government provides digital competency training for teachers, such as held by Pustekom, Balitbang, LPMP, P4TK, and also held by the business sector through corporate social responsibility or CSR. So that's the answer.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Zahra, for the answer. And now the last questions is from Ibu Lina Mitaful, to Ms. Novi Widyaningrum. So related to the negative public perception of the COVID-19 vaccine, one of the causes is due to the public distrust of many things to the government. Previous experiences in the past year were fake vaccine. The government always blames the people. So I think one of the efforts that must be done is to improve trust in the government, which is very difficult to repair. Thank you. So any comment from Ibu Novi, please? Time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the question. I think this is a comment, not a question from Mbak Lina Miftahul. I do agree with your comment. It is important to increase the government trust to, especially for the anti-vaccine issues in Indonesia, because in Indonesia it's kind of a little bit different with the anti-vaccine movement in the other country. I can say that in the other country, they make issue related to anti-vaccine issue is about medical problem, and then conspiracy theory. But in Indonesia, it is strongly we can see strongly can be seen strongly that anti-vaccine movement use the government distrust, and it is blend conspiracy theory, government distrust, and also they use religious issues to combat the anti-vaccine program from the government. So that's why the decrease of the vaccine program outcome is it's happened during these decades. That's all from me, Ibu Dia.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Novi. So I think that's the last question and comment from the participants. Therefore, I will close this session, and thank you for the presenters for today for the great presentations. We are highly appreciated, and all the participants who attended this room. And now the time I will give back to the committee, Ibu Agusma. Thank you very much for everything.
Budia.
Yes.
I think in the program book, it's scheduled to finish on 5.
Yes.
Not sure. In the program book, it's scheduled to finish by 5 p.m.
Okay. But there's no more participant left. If there's any participant still or any question. I'm sorry, I just... There are 2 participant meetings, Bapak Ahmad Sofiuddin and Ardian Syahdani Darmawan. So that's why, but this is the last from Ibu Lina from the chat box is for your information, the paper from Dia Ayu and Fitria is the same research with the David all in bachelor degree where I and Mr. Reza are as supervisor. If there's still any questions, because there are nobody questioning in the Zoom group chat. That's why I was closing the session. Panitia, Ibu Agusma,
Ya, Bu.
or Ibu Sekjen Ola, Ibu Ola. Should we close or we waiting for the other questions? Because the time is still left, as Ibu Tuti mentioned. I think there's no more questions. Or Ibu Tuti, do you want to comment about something?
No, it's okay, Budia. Thank you.
Then I
That's
will.
all for me.
Okay, then I will close the sessions. Okay, if everybody is already agreed, because we still have time left, but there's no more question. Now the time for taking the picture. So who will taking the picture? Ibu Agusma?
Yeah, bentar, Bu. Wait a minute.
Okay, please open the camera and get ready for the pictures. Thank you.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Wait a minute.
Next page.
Okay. Wait. Next page. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Next.
And next. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Agusma.
Thank
So
you.
therefore, I will close the session after taking the picture. And thank you very much once again, for all the participations in these sessions. And please stay healthy, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Budia.
Sama-sama, Bu Agusma. Prof. Agus, are you still here? Still mute, Prof.
Yeah, I'm here still. Thank you very much, everyone, for your nice presentation for this afternoon. Hopefully, yeah, everybody get successful.
Ibu Ola, what is the next agenda?
Is she still here?
Yeah, Ibu Ola is still here.
Ya, Pak. Kenapa, Pak?
Yeah,
What
Budia is asking for you.
Because we have time until, so we will wait in this room until the close. Or it's already.
Oh, it's already. Okay, okay. So it's all finished, Mbak. So we don't have any closing ceremony. So that's all.
Okay then. So
Thank you, everybody.
thank you, everybody. Hopefully we meet in next year for offline.
Thank you, Mbak Di. Thank you.
Makasih, Mbak Di. Makasih, Mbak Dia.
Sama-sama, Bu Ola. Sukses ya acara YAPA.
Thank
Terima kasih dirimu juga. Terima kasih. Kita live ya.
Oke, bye-bye all.
Bye. Mbak Ola, thank you. Prof. Agus, thank you.
Thank you.